Greetings. So this is a response video to Bev's video. So one of the first points that you bring up is the idea of this interaction of living things and humans, and that we can't separate those away from each other, and that is definitely one of Leopold's core points, and I think it's a good one to bring up. We can't, we can work on what that relationship looks like, but we can't remove it. You definitely made some good links to kind of the big picture of how we build, how we manufacture, how we live, how we work, etc. And how in so many cases expediency is chosen over long-term thinking. And that long-term thinking is something you bring up a few other times in this video, which is very good. We choose the kind of quick route, well, we meaning many people making decisions within society. And this can really lead to environmental catastrophe, or we think of environmental catastrophes as being these big giant things, and sometimes they are, but other times that catastrophe is a long, drawn-out, horrible thing that we do to ourselves and others, because it's easy and because we kind of have permission to. You have corporations who pollute because they're allowed to, and that's how many corporations are going out to destroy the world? I don't know. I don't think it's very many. Mostly, I think what they do is they go out to make money, to appease shareholders, and to be successful within their own parameters, not necessarily seeing that they're simultaneously doing these horrible things, or maybe not caring, or thinking someone else will clean it up, or it's someone else's responsibility, and that if it's legal, if they're being allowed to, well, then it's really not their problem. And it turns out to be everybody's problem, including theirs. So one thing is that we externalize a lot of costs, and that's kind of how these corporations are able to do this and not take this long-term view, is through externalizing the costs, meaning that if they don't have to pay it, it doesn't mean it doesn't get paid. It just means it gets paid by somebody else, by everybody, in this very diffused sort of way. So also great quote from Leopold at the end there. That's a pretty classic quote and a very good one. With McDonough and Braungart, you talk again about this kind of the long-term damage, and even this long-term view that less bad really just leads to a prolonged problem. And I think that that's something that comes out of the reading for sure, but it's also just a really good way to look at it, is that it's not a solution, it's just a slow problem. And I do think that it kind of has to be an intermediate step, as you were saying, but that those longer-term solutions have to come at the same time. We have to be working on those simultaneously. So talking about the San Francisco plan, and then also bringing that back to Jacob's concepts from McDonough and Braungart, very good. This policy and action disconnect is something that's a pretty big deal. And it shows us, a lot of people really focus on policy, that, we've got to get the lawmakers to whatever. And what we see is that if that isn't linked with any kind of public motivation, if that isn't linked with any kind of action plan and some kind of plan to really make sure that these policies or laws are being executed, it doesn't go anywhere. Why would it? If you're not actually, if there's no community traction, it's not going to go anywhere. So policy alone, not the answer. We're going to be talking very soon, and I'll be doing kind of a mini lecture on environmental empowerment, and I'll be talking about these linkages between policies and government and that sort of thing with other factors that make things actually move forward. So I'm glad you're picking up on that now. So good thing. This unspoken fear you're talking about with overpopulation is a very interesting one. For many years, as far back as I've been looking at issues of ecology and in the environment, which is, it's been a while, overpopulation comes up over and over again in this kind of Malthusian vision of we're all going to fall into a big pit because of overpopulation. And overpopulation is a problem. Yes, it is. And it's one that we create, that in the Western world we create in many ways. It's kind of a heartbreaking one because we go into nations that have cultures of having large numbers of children, and then we help them to have better health care and things like that, and better nutrition, and we do these things that are the kind of Western vision of education, and what we end up with is at the same time that we get the culture remains, and so you have people having a lot of children, maybe even maybe more than they want, and not necessarily having the capacity to deal with all those extra people. So you have a lot of people on the earth. Yes, we do have a lot of people on the earth, but at the same time, a really important part of that conversation is overconsumption. So you can put together all kinds of families with as many people in them as you could possibly dream of in a developing nation, and they're still not going to leave as much of a footprint on the earth as an average American family. So we have to think about the fact that we can't foist the blame on India because they have these huge issues of overpopulation. Yes, that's a problem, and we partially created that problem. Of course, we want people to have better health care, we want people to have better nutrition, but we should also be working on kind of these cultural shifts at the same time that have to come when a nation is in a lot of ways taking on many aspects of our culture. It can't just be one part without the other. There's a balance there. But then on the other side, the more important side, is that overconsumption in the United States and in the West in general, but the United States is a biggie, is far more of an issue than overpopulation alone. So the two things linked together are a really big problem. So you made some great points and some thought-provoking points. Some things, I think you explored things pretty well. As you noted, yes, it was a long video. It would be great if you could tighten it up a bit, especially for your classmates' sake when they're watching these things. But I do appreciate that you weren't just reading, and that's a good thing. This is a bit more conversational, which is great. So absolutely try and tighten it up. Just make sure that you've got your ideas solidly in your head, and they're great ideas. So I look forward to seeing your next post.